Hi there and welcome to Postscript. I'm John Petersen from the Arlington Institute and we're happy to have you with us here. Coming to you from Berkeley Springs here in the eastern panhandle of West Virginia, and we do this about once a month when we have guests who come to town as part of our Berkeley Springs Transition Talks series. And we host folks from all over the world who have something important and interesting to say about this extraordinary kind of transition that's going on in this world, the likes of which we've never seen before. You can find out more about it on transitiontalks.org, and you can see our lineup. We've got Bruce Lipton coming up next month in September, and Dr. Eben Alexander in October, and a number of other folks that we're working on the schedule that are coming up a little later in the year. And we'd love to have you come out for the weekend. It's a delightful time, and it's provocative. We can promise you that for sure. And today we've got a marvelous, wonderful friend of ours, Dr. Penny Kelly, who has long been a friend of Transition Talks and has been here a number of times in the past. Penny is a naturopathic physician, and she has an engineering background, and she's an author of about 7 or 8 books, and she's an intuitive and works with people from all over around the world, and has a perspective, a unique and marvelous kind of perspective on what's going on in the world, and we're happy to have you here today with us again, Penny Kelly.
Good to be here.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be an interesting presentation today, and maybe I can set this up by saying that I was really impressed last December in 2017 when 6 people from deep inside of the government, from black programs and the head of the skunk works at Lockheed Martin and senior people from the CIA and Nobel Prize nominated physicists and other folks all stood up in Seattle and said UFOs are real. And this is intriguing and interesting because for a number of reasons. Number one is that the U.S. government has in a de facto way said this is real and now opened the door completely for legitimate conversation and funding and other kinds of things. And secondly, what I know from having talked to some of these guys is that it's an international movement. They're getting countries from all over the world that are all working together to try to bring this together. And so my guess is that 10 years from now, you're going to look back and you're going to say, that's when it all shifted. And when humanity and its relationship to this larger reality that we live in suddenly became obvious, and we started to take it far more seriously than we did in the past.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think in 10 years, we're going to look back and say, what was the problem?
Yeah.
What was the obstacle there? So that whole rollout of disclosure, it's been trying to sneak out for quite a long time. But, some of us have just been kind of like, should we say anything? Should we be quiet? How much can we say?
I understand that, but from my point of view, as a professional futurist,
yeah.
And you look across the horizon of the different kind of subject possibilities or issues or potential events that might happen in the future, or energy and, any number of medical breakthroughs or whatever. When you get to disclosure of life off of this planet and some of the kind of things, it is easily the most influential and impactful kind of thing that there is. And so people who poo-poo this do not understand the potential significance of this.
No, I don't think they do, and I think it's there's been so much disinformation or kind of tweaking of the consciousness, and I have wondered, you know, some of that movie stuff
Yeah.
that has been out there, if that hasn't been deliberately set up to make us be a little bit afraid, so that when it actually happens, we're like, oh, not a problem. You know,
Well,
it's like we're expecting the worst, and then it becomes very ordinary.
That may well be. I mean, I don't know how to handicap how these people are thinking about it, but certainly the media it plays a role. I mean,
Yeah.
you can look at
More than you know.
Tell me more.
Because one of the things that I think is not really understood is that ETs, and I'm just using that as kind of a shorthand term.
Right.
I think of them as advanced races.
Right.
They love entertainment. They're just like us. They love it.
How do you know this?
John.
You're going to tell us.
I'll
But anyway,
get to that. I might get to that. I'm a little shy
Okay.
about coming out of that closet. But that love of entertainment is deep, and it isn't just, you know, sit back, observe, watch, listen. It's like, can I be involved in the entertainment?
Huh.
I want to play cops and robbers, but I'll be the cop, you be the robber. It's like you know, in the advanced races, they love real entertainment by becoming involved in it. And so it takes on a whole different dimension.
Right.
And that, I think, is something that people have no clue
All right.
about.
Let's circle back and come to that, but take a minute and talk to us a little bit about your experiences with Dr. William Lemongood. Because this will set the stage kind of from a professional point of view and from a scientific point of view, partly about where you've come to from this point to this point.
In 1996, 97, I got a call from this Dr. Lemongood, Dr. William Lemongood. He was studying crop circles and materials from UFO landing sites
He's
animal mutilations.
Molecular, what?
He was a biophysicist.
Biophysicist.
Yeah, and he had moved from the study of all this stuff that he was like, you know, where are the physics to explain this?
He's a serious guy.
He's a serious guy.
Serious guy, and he got exposed to these crop circle kind of things. And when he started, he was kind of agnostic, or.
Well, I mean, this is a major physicist. His specialty was actually in glass and the biophysics of plant. I can't even say it like he explained it.
Yeah.
You know, what are the forces that move substances up a plant against gravity?
Right, right.
That was his initial question, and so he was kind of fiddling with that. But he was really an expert on the how to make glass that would crack in a certain pattern.
Okay.
Yeah. Very, you know,
so then,
esoteric.
So he somehow got exposed to this crop circle business, and as I understand it, he kind of blew it off a little bit at the beginning, but then got it.
Yeah, he was. His wife was watching TV and said, "Lefty, come and look at this," because on the TV there was a picture of this crop circle, and he's looking at the crop circle, going, "What would make all those plants lay down?" You know, he wasn't really. He was a physicist, a biophysicist through and through. And so a year later, they had another update on this crop circle business. This was like in the early 80s, maybe.
Right.
And that second year, they had a book that they featured. Somebody had written a book, Pat Delgado. And so Lefty wrote to Pat and said, you know, has anybody looked at the plants? If nobody has, I'd be willing to take a look at them. So that was how it started. So, and then from there, you know, people started sending him materials, and then Linda Moulton Howe got involved, and she started bringing him all kinds of stuff. And it just expanded from looking at the materials in a crop circle to, you know, UFO landing sites.
And then you worked with him for a dozen years or something?
Yeah, 15 years. And that, you know, he had been working on those kinds of issues for a few years, and he had expanded to, he had discovered some people had some very unusual energies, and so he was looking for people who had unusual energies. And somebody who somebody who knew me suggested that he talk to me or
Right.
that he call me. So he had her call me and give me his phone number.
Right.
He didn't want to intrude.
Okay. But anyway,
it started.
but the long and short of it is that you worked for him for a dozen years or more.
Yeah.
And that he discovered that between the two of you, you figured out that there was cellular deformation.
That's right.
And that it was an energetic thing that had happened. Nobody
Right.
just folded down the plants.
Not at all.
And so he was a pioneer in terms of kind of understanding that there had been some external thing, whether it came from under the ground or some other thing.
Right.
And in the process, you also started to develop a theoretical basis about understanding how consciousness changes into physical things.
Right.
And so that the whole notion of consciousness being causal and whole areas of plasma and things like that.
That's true. Yeah. What happened was that he was working on crop circle stuff and the phenomena with that, and then he's looking at these animal mutilations or excisions, he called them, and then he was looking at what happened to plants that were around a landing site.
Right.
And then he's, trying to measure what goes on with people who have these unusual energies, and all of a sudden all that came together. And really what I spent, my time with him, he basically taught me astrophysics and biophysics and plasma physics.
Wow.
And the possibilities, my background was actually consciousness and the study and research of consciousness, cognition, intelligence. And so when I started hearing the theories that, that were accepted by physicists,
Right.
my immediate reaction was, oh my God, why aren't we putting this research into consciousness together with this other research, this physics?
Yeah.
Because they just dovetailed perfectly.
Well, that's a classic benefit of multidisciplinary
That's
interaction because you see the patterns across the borders.
Yeah, so as it ended up, we continued to deepen our work. We got some fabulous materials from a guy in Brazil who had been picked up.
Mm-hmm.
And the materials, the ETs had actually sent a message that it was time for us to begin understanding frequencies.
Oh.
That word, now you have to understand.
So how did they send a message?
They said it. They sent it.
Oh, to him, to the guy in Brazil.
They sent the message to the guy in Brazil who said, tell the white-haired scientist, Linda Moulton Howe was the one receiving this message,
I see.
that it's time for you to begin understanding frequency.
I see.
So at that point, Lefty always referred to ETs as those people.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, people, those aren't people. And he was like, yes, they are. Yes, they are. And we even had samples of their blood in the lab. It wasn't like human blood. Instead of hemoglobin, it had like chlorophyll.
Oh, wow.
Structures in it. And so, but in many, many ways, they did the same sorts of things. It was amazing. It's like, oh, wow. So long story short, as we began working together, I began to see more and more that this whole need for people to understand consciousness, that's the big difference between, the advanced races and humans, is what they can do with consciousness, and consciousness is all frequency.
Sure.
So, once I started understanding plasma and plasma physics and plasma structures and plasma, we'll call it transformations,
Right.
then everything really, it became so obvious that we have to get this if we're going to join that group of people, and if we don't, we're going.
Well, one of the
down.
intriguing byproducts of this research that you did with Dr. Levengood was that you figured out how that by bathing seeds in certain kinds of energy, you could multiply the kinds of production of like corn or whatever, whatever it was?
Yeah, so so one of the things to understand is that you and I, everything is plasma, okay? Plasma is? A plasma is a house of frequencies. It's an area that's full of interacting frequencies, and they interact in certain ways. And think of a plasma as this little standing...
but it's a fourth state of matter, right?
Some people say it's the fourth state of matter.
So you have liquid and gas and solids and plasma.
And that's how I'm going to address it later today.
All right.
But a plasma is a small vortex. Okay? And so it's either spitting something out the tail end or it's sucking something in. Okay?
Right.
So we are these plasmas.
Just for people who are not familiar with it, so like the light of a candle or something like that is the flame on a candle is a plasma, is that right?
Everything is plasma.
Well, everything is plasma,
but there are transformational states of plasma. So you get into some advanced stuff. What I started to...
the electric universe people who have this big picture of how everything works, they say it's all electric and it is all plasma, just like you're saying.
Yeah.
And that what you get is concentrations and reactions and other things. This is why you get stars and other such stuff.
That's right.
And what you're doing is bringing it down to a level to where you're saying it's not just stars and big stuff, it's everything.
It's you and me.
And it's and the very essence of how all this works is that consciousness interacts with this underlying field of energy.
Oh, wait.
Okay,
Let me revise.
Oh, okay.
Consciousness is the underlying field, and the position of your focus within that standing vortex determines the type of consciousness you will have.
So say that a different way for us.
So
you've got vortex. You've got little kind of tornadoes, vortexes.
Yeah, and they come at, so your heart is a collection of plasma vortices. The liver is a collection, and they together have a frequency signature.
Which makes that this coffee cup is the way it is because there is a signature.
That's right.
An energetic signature.
Right.
That defines this, but in essence, what it is a collection of these little vortices that are all organized in this kind of way based upon the signature, right?
You got it.
Okay,
you got it.
Thanks.
So, if you can figure out how to organize the frequencies,
you can change anything.
You can change anything. Yeah, and that is where the magic is in all of that, UFO stuff. And the technologies that they have, and there's certain principles I think that we don't understand, that just given my background, I have some experience there.
Yeah, right.
So that there are certain, like you bring, let's pretend.
Okay.
Let's play plasma for a minute.
We won't.
Okay. So we have this field of frequencies.
Okay.
Okay. Whatever, and let's just say we grab a bunch of them. Some of those are going to begin to react. They do that automatically. They seek one another out, and they begin to twist together. And that's how you get it. It's when you see it, and I have seen this, because of my own clairvoyance. What you see is this messy kind of thing where light is spilling out of the intersection of those two frequencies, okay? And they begin to twirl around, and you end up with...
Yeah, but the frequency doesn't... listen, the electrical engineer in me says, okay, so you've got this energy, and the energy is vibrating at different kind of rates, which are the different frequencies, and these different vibrations then interact with each other.
Certain vibrations will seek one another out.
Resonate and other things and whatever.
Yes.
Okay.
Similars attract
Okay.
at that level.
Okay.
At the level of frequency.
Okay.
Okay, so now I forgot what I was going to say. Okay,
That's what I was...
so you put this field together. We were playing plasma.
Yeah, right.
Okay, right. So you put this field together and you get this initial interaction. If it comes to, here's the piece that I think is critical. At certain levels of interaction, you get an automatic transition to another stage of function.
Ah.
And that just keeps
So it
going
evolves.
up.
It evolves.
Yes, yes.
To a higher level, kind of.
To a higher level, more complexity, more capacity, bigger set of characteristics and skills. And that's true all the way up, whether you're talking about a cup or a human or a planet or something else. So plasma is amazing stuff.
So there's a natural proclivity for evolution.
Yes, it's built in. It's built in. And how do you get that? How do you get that leap to that next level?
I don't know.
And
tell me.
More energy.
What?
More energy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Some of it is breath. Let's say you step on an electric wire and you get almost electrocuted.
Yeah.
That's the energy that you need to make a leap to the next level of organization.
So we all should try to get ourselves electrocuted.
No, don't
What?
do that.
Oh.
But if you attached yourself to some wires and ran energy through the body, you can trigger a transformation. And that will change your consciousness as well as your physicality. So it's
energy therapies in terms of healthcare and other kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's all energy.
Because
it's all energy.
It's all frequency.
And everything else is downstream, the pills and the massage and the other stuff.
Yeah.
And upstream is the essential energy body, if you will, or whatever. And if you can change that and manipulate that. You know, I just came from hearing Dr. Bruce Lipton, who's going to be with us in October, or in September here in Berkeley Springs. And he's all about how your consciousness changes the essential biology inside of you, and it's all by changing your mind about one thing and your perspective and your feelings and your emotions and so on.
I think people don't understand that frequency controls feeling.
Yeah, I know. And feeling controls frequency.
Yeah.
It kind of works the other way around. Okay, now listen.
It's a feedback.
We're going to come back in a second segment. And we're going to talk about how all this relates to this emerging new kind of understanding of a new relationship with a whole bunch of people, or other beings. And it's going to be very, very fascinating.
Those people.
So don't go away, and don't you go away, because we'll be back here in the second episode here of our interview with Dr. Penny Kelly. And I'm John Petersen from the Arlington Institute. And this is Postscript, and we're just pleased to have you with us and hope you'll come back and visit us at transitiontalks.org, where we highlight the upcoming speakers who are coming here to Berkeley Springs. Thanks.